This time, we will talk about an anime entitled Trickster. In 2030s, a group of detectives is created under supervision of Kogoro Akechi. They solve an all-manner case until one day they meet a mysterious boy named Yoshio Kobayashi who cannot die. He wants to die and refuses to make contact with everyone. The encounter opens a new chapter between Kogoro Akechi and Fien, the 20 Faces. One day, a security robot suddenly appears and goes on rampage in Shibuya District. The detective of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, Nakamura, now assigns Detective Kaguro Akechi to investigate the case. Akechi sneaks into the Hinomoto heavy industry with the help of Noro Makoto, who broke the secure password. There, Akechi meets Finn, the 20 Faces, who disguised as a technician officer. Akechi finds out the villain used the robot as a bait to get into Hinomoto's system. By using the smoke bomb, the 20 Faces escapes from Akechi. Meanwhile, Hanasaki Kensuke from Detective Boys Club goes to look for the missing dog, Melodina. He finds Melodina entering an abandoned building and meets a boy named Kobayashi Yoshio. Hanasaki looks at Kobayashi, who seems scared, and he promises he will catch the dog and leave soon. But Melodina keeps barking, and as it approaches Kobayashi, he unintentionally kills the dog with his scream. After burying Melodina, Hanasaki finds Kobayashi sitting near with Melodina's blood, and he puts some flowers on it. Kobayashi then jumps from the building. Hanasaki catches up with him, jumping off using several devices that makes him land safely. He follows Kobayashi, who jumps into the river. Kobayashi warns Hanasaki not to get close to him if he doesn't want to die. They end up in a park, and Hanasaki gives him a can of soda. He then notices that Kobayashi isn't aware of his own power. Hanasaki mentions that he is great and incomparable. However, Kobayashi looks depressed and tells Hanasaki that he only wants to die. Later that night, a fire breaks out in Hinomoto Heavy Industries. Hanasaki leaves Kobayashi to help people who are caught in fire. Kobayashi is after him, intending to return Hanasaki's wallet that is left in the park. He finds Hanasaki and a man caught in ruins. After getting them out with Kobayashi's help, Hanasaki offers him to join the Detective Boys Club. The next morning, a girl named Meiko comes asking for help to investigate a death threat from her boyfriend. Inurio and Hanasaki agree to take the case and conclude they just need to find out to whom the letter is addressed and whether the letter has sent. Hanasaki starts monitoring Nakamura Haji, Meiko's boyfriend. While Ino waits in a restaurant while waiting a report from Hanasaki, Hanasaki goes to a food stall where the man works and orders some food. But as he wants to pay his food, he realizes his wallet is gone. Noro then informs him where his wallet is. He goes to find Kobayashi and sees him in the abandoned building. He laughs at him, who is trying to eat udon, but it messed up due to his power. Hanasaki uses the chance to invite Kobayashi to start his first job as a detective boy club. Although Kobayashi refused at first, he finally agrees to investigate the man with Hanasaki. After receiving information about Nakamura Haji, who is delivering the food for a seminar event, Kobayashi and Hanasaki rush to get there. Kobayashi goes to another room where the food is served. Hanasaki finds him and scolds him as he eats the food. But suddenly he chokes on his food and tells him that the food is poisoned. Nakamura Haji comes and Hanasaki asks him about the poisoned food. Nakamura Haji seems puzzled and explains he didn't poison the food. Hanasaki invites Kobayashi to go. Inu then finds out that Meiko is the person who poisoned the food and purposely framed Nakamura Haji. Nakamura Haji doesn't believe this, and he proves it by drinking the water. As a result, he collapses after that. Hanasaki reaches the seminar venue, and with the help of Kobayashi that broke the door, they manage to prevent the doctor drinking the water that Meiko brings. Hanasaki strikes Meiko down, who tries to escape. And a second later, the cops arrive to arrest her. After that, Kobayashi returns Hanasaki's detective club identity lanyard. Hanasaki suggests him to keep it and tells him that he is a club member and they will work together from now on. In the office, Hanasaki tells Akechi about Kobayashi and his wish to find a way to kill him first or making him want to stay alive. In the following day, Hanasaki brings Kobayashi to the office and measures the safe distance near him is 30 centimeters. Even though Inu opposes his idea to bring a dangerous person to the club, Akechi doesn't mind about it. After that, a woman comes to ask for their help to find his son, who is missing in the park named Nemoto. They meet Nakamura and Mayanishi, who talk about their missing medical examiner named Yumito Harumi. After that, they begin to look for around the town. Noro then informs what she concluded about Nemoto. She concludes there is nothing that can help the investigation. Hanasaki then notices that Kobayashi is missing. He rushes to look for him and finds him hiding in a narrow alley. Kobayashi explains he cannot walk in a place where many people are around. As they return to their car to meet Inu, Kobayashi unintentionally explodes the back row seat with his power. Hanasaki and Inu begin to argue about him, and Kobayashi runs away from them. Hanasaki, who has memorized his hideout, finds him easily. He then explains Inu's nature and invites him to continue the mission. Both of them are informed from a bum about suspicious Persephone group. They sneak into the place, and they find that the group purposely attracts the unemployed with the promise of old age protection to take their organs. Yumoto Harumi is the leader of the group. Because his crime has been revealed, the detective club reports him, and the cops starting to come to arrest him. They also succeed finding Nemoto, who is on the scene. In the office, Inu expresses his objection with Kobayashi's presence and claims his power is dangerous. Akechi, as the leader of the club, thinks that Kobayashi obeys the rules and states that Kobayashi will stay with them. Nakamura and Mayanishi are doing patrol in the streets and see a crowd of people surrounding an accident where a police car is seen flipping over. The officers help remove the victim, and Nakamura finds a CD that is addressed to Akechi from the 20 Faces. Meanwhile, at school, Hanasaki tests some of his devices with the members of the Science Experiments Club. Hanasaki gets a call from Kobayashi, who opposes because he didn't remove the tracker in the club lanyard so that Akechi finds his hideout. Akechi replies, saying about a new task and will tell them later in the evening. After the line disconnected, Akechi asks Kobayashi to go back to the office with Nakamura and Mayanishi. They watch the CD that the 20 Faces left for Akechi in the accident scene. 20 Face takes a hostage a senior police member named Kanda. He says if Akechi cannot find him until 9 p.m., Kanda will die. Akechi agrees to take the case and asks Inu and Kobayashi to investigate it. Inu remembers the previous video and reveals the code Kanda gave about the disposal drain. Nakamura asks Mayanishi to call the force while Inu and Kobayashi will head to the disposal drain. There, Inu feels someone else's presence. He then uses his camouflage umbrella to hide. Inu tells Kobayashi if they follow them, they might find the 20 Faces. As two people wearing masks pass by, one of them throws the cigarette, causing Inu and Kobayashi to come into view. They attack Inu while Kobayashi stays still. At school, Hanasaki is worried because he cannot contact Kobayashi. He encounters Katsuda, who is former member of the Detective Boys Club. Hanasaki suggests him to return to the club, but he refuses. As Hanasaki leaves, he tells Hanasaki to obey what Akechi says. In the disposal drain, Inu and Kobayashi are stuck as the water starts to flow, filling the space. Meanwhile, Akechi, Nakamura, and Mayanishi head to the hospital to see a police officer who survived from the accident. Akechi locks the door and expresses his suspicion. The officer laughs and tells Akechi that he has a message for him. After hearing what the man said, Akechi realizes that the information about the disposal is a part of the 20 Faces plan to set up the police officers who would be sent there. Hanasaki, who has just left school, receives a task to rescue the hostage. He asks Katsuda to take him there and tells that Inu is in danger. Elsewhere in the disposal drain, water is increasing, and Inu tells Kobayashi to leave through the gaps to tell the police that the map is fake. Inu uses the line, throwing and pins it on the wall. He tries to pull the line and get out of the water, but the wall starts to crumble and the line is detached. As a result, Inu is plunged into the water again. Inu recalls the incident in the past that caused his leg cannot move and the day when Katsuda decided to quit from the club. Just then, the ceiling above them is opened and Katsuda arrives to rescue them. Meanwhile, Hanasaki joins Akechi and the other police officers to save the officers who are still caught in the channel. He uses a drone to scan the location and gives it to Noro. Hanasaki then goes with Akechi to see 20 Face and asks him to free the hostage. However, the 20 Face refuses to let him go and leaves with his bike. Kobayashi, who is asleep by the channel, falls into the water when 20 Face's men pass nearby. As the motorbike speeds towards Kobayashi, 20 Face is shocked to see Kobayashi split open. Hanasaki takes the chance and manages to get Kanda back. 20 Face comments that Akechi has an interesting toy. Akechi is mad at him and states that Kobayashi, Inu, Hanasaki, Noro, and Katsuda are not his toys. After the police officers are safely removed from the channel, in the Detective Boys Club, Kobayashi receives a burger and French fries as his payment that Akechi promised for the mission. In the next days, Hanasaki assists Kobayashi to find a way to die, but until umpteenth attempts of jumping from the building, Kobayashi is still alive. Kobayashi tells him to go back to the club, but Hanasaki refuses because the office is closed for a moment as Akechi is away for a business, Inu is still at school, and Noro is busy exercising. Hanasaki recalls Kobayashi always gets wounded in every mission. He believes that as they solve many cases, Kobayashi will get more wounds and dies. Taking advantage of Akechi's absence, Hanasaki accepts 6 missions that were rejected before. He then invites Kobayashi to solve them. The first mission, they should get a vase similar to the sample the client provided and take it to Noro to be duplicated. The second mission, they will meet Otomo, and asks him to fix the play recorder. But as they hand in the vase and the Pali recorder to the client, they get involved in a trouble and fail to get the payment. Hanasaki then asks Kobayashi to carry out the next mission, which is to mow the land at the client's house. However, Kobayashi suddenly slips and pushes down the tree. The last mission, Hanasaki and Kobayashi are asked to investigate an adultery. They are tailing a girl and Hanasaki is determined to clear the mission, but Kobayashi ruins it by coming to the girl and asking her about her affair. On the way home, Hanasaki thinks of out of the 6 missions, none of them works. They see 2 children are panic as the drone they are playing with suddenly enters a factory. Hanasaki heads there to pick the drone and asks Kobayashi to wait there. After some time, Kobayashi decides to go after Hanasaki and picks the drone that is plunged into the hot liquid. After getting out of there, Hanasaki asks Kobayashi if he is hurt anywhere. Kobayashi states he has attempted suicide by going to the hot furnace and is still alive. Arriving in the office, Noro, Inu, and the others apparently are preparing a birthday party for Kobayashi. Hanasaki explains as Kobayashi doesn't know anything about himself, they decide to make the day his birthday. They invite Kobayashi to go to the rooftop to show him the rest of Ferris wheel from his hideout that they moved in for his birthday present. As everyone is sleeping, Hanasaki looks at the pictures of the party and looks at Kobayashi, who is smiling when he is eating pizza. Meanwhile, Akechi is relaxing in the spa to relieve the fatigue from the cases he is handling. He looks at the news on TV, who shows about the incident of security robots, organ sales, and the police kidnapping in the underground drains. The news anchor states that a mysterious partner has cleared the problems. Nakamura comes to see Akechi and asks how long time he won't rest. She tells him about the news on TV that talks about Akechi as the mysterious partner. Nakamura informs him that the 20 Faces has really disappeared and asks what happened between Akechi and the villain. Meanwhile, Hanasaki goes home to see his father, who tells him his departure abroad. He then meets Kobayashi, who is waiting for him in the pool. Kobayashi asks him if the man is his father, which Hanasaki confirms. Hanasaki also tells him that he and his brother are adoptive son. Akechi checks on his phone and sees several missed calls from Inu. Hanasaki changes his clothes and hurries up to meet Inu, who picks him up. On the big screen plastered over the city, a man who introduces himself as a representative of Kokoro Gakka Housing states his refusal to vacate the Gakka redevelopment complex and declares its independence from Japan. Hanasaki is stunned, recognizing the man as none other than his older brother. Hanasaki rushes to the club base to meet Akechi, who has just arrived. He mentions about Haru and asks him to do something, but Akechi refuses to do any work that didn't hire him. He then tells Hanasaki not to leave the club base. Later, they receive a package, and as Kobayashi is about to open the package, Noro is worried that someone sent a bomb. However, it is only a toy robot with voice note from 20 Face, inviting Akechi to play with him in Kokoro Gakka. Kobayashi then goes to the top of the building and finds Hanasaki, who's going down the building to escape. He goes back and is scolded by Inu for letting Hanasaki go. Kobayashi reminds him the rules from Akechi that life and death is their own responsibility. Meanwhile, Hanasaki sneaks into Kokoro Gakka. As he arrives there, Haru makes him faint. Hanasaki dreams of an incident in the past where he listened to his father talking to Haru and planning to return him to the orphanage. Haru refused it. Although they don't have blood relation, he assumed Hanasaki was his brother. Hanasaki wakes up and hugs his brother. Haru takes Hanasaki around his country and meets their mother. Haru then shows him the military force of Kokoro Gakka. Elsewhere in the office, Akechi recalls his first meeting with Hanasaki. He came to his place asking him to find his brother and promised to pay him with his life. Akechi declined and suggested him to ask his father. Hanasaki then posted his brother's pictures all the way hoping to find his brother. Suddenly, he is stopped by several men who intended to steal his money. Akechi arrived and saved him. Hanasaki then told him that his father loved his brother more than himself, but just because he said he didn't want to leave, his brother disappeared. Akechi commented that Haru did that to protect him and make him happy. In Kokoro Gakka, Haru invites Hanasaki to go to the rooftop and asks him to stay with him as family. He promises he will give Hanasaki happiness he couldn't do as a brother. Akechi and the others are on the way there and find out the situation in the frontier. They ask Nakamura to help them. Arriving at the frontier, they can get closer to the defined zone as they will be fired immediately. Akechi sends Kobayashi to come closer. The residents of Kokoro Gakka stand guard with their weapon, telling Kobayashi not to come any closer. As the bullet is shot and tank fires, none of them hurts Kobayashi. He enters the power plant to disconnect the line and Akechi catches up with him. Haru intends to look for his mother and finds Akechi, who points a gun at the woman. Haru is angry and assumes Hanasaki is the person who called Akechi there. He points his gun at Hanasaki and before he pulls the trigger, Akechi shoots his arm. Nakamura and the cops arrive and arrest Haru and his mother. After the incident, Akechi asks Hanasaki not to do anything related to the case for a meantime and asks him to calm his mind. But Akechi, who is angry, decides to quit from the club. He goes home and locks himself in his room for several days. Several days later, Hanasaki goes to the club to take his stuffs and listens about Kobayashi, who is doing well. As he's about to leave, he encounters Inu and Kobayashi. Feeling his spot is stolen, Hanasaki vents out his anger to Kobayashi and calls him monster. Inu reminds him he was the one who brought Kobayashi to the club. Akechi shows up and states that even though he is hurt, he must not hurt others. Hanasaki is angry and claims Akechi makes him like a bad person. He runs leaving the club and meets 20 Faces. Hanasaki wakes up and realizes he is captured by 20 Faces. 20 Face shows him Haru's condition, who was survived from the shot and now is under treatment for his recovery. Hanasaki, who finds out the incident of Kokoro Gakka is 20 Faces doing, is furious. 20 Face then shows him pictures of children who died when the club uncovered the crime of organ selling. He tells Hanasaki that the children who are supposed to get organs donation from the people they saved. 20 Face asks him if he is a kind or evil person. Hanasaki then is shown the picture of his father, who is attending the inauguration ceremony of the Lowakiwa residential complex. 20 Face claims Hanasaki wants to be noticed by his father and Akechi. He then shows Hanasaki the gunshot wound on his chest he got from Akechi. 20 Face tells him that in this current state with Kobayashi in the club, he is useless. 20 Face gives him a gun and tells him to shoot Akechi. 20 Face shows him Akechi, who is praising Kobayashi as he helped him clearing the mission. Hanasaki is stunned as he hears Akechi says he is bored with Hanasaki, and he asks all the club members to forget him. Feeling hurt, Hanasaki pulls the trigger, destroying the screen in front of him. The next morning in the office, Akechi and Hanasaki's father receive a message from 20 Face, who shows Hanasaki is being tortured. 20 Face tells them to capture him if they don't want Hanasaki to be his toy. 20 Face breaks into Lowakiwa complex because he brings Hanasaki as a hostage. He can get the passcode of the complex easily. Hanasaki is surprised to find his father gives the passcode for him, but 20 Face is not sure his father did that for him or he did that for his own benefit. Hanasaki follows the instruction given by 20 Face and deactivates the security to take over the complex. Meanwhile, Akechi goes by himself to meet 20 Face and warns others to stay in the office. However, Inu thinks they cannot just stay still, and with the help of Noro, who attacks the tracker, they can locate where Akechi is. Inu blames himself for Hanasaki's capture. But Kobayashi thinks that Hanasaki is stupid for not able to control his emotion and got captured. They arrive at the location and find out that Akechi has moved the tracker to a cat. Finally, with the help from Otomo, they manage to find Hanasaki's real location. Meanwhile, Akechi has arrived in Lowakiwa and faces the security robot that is attacking a girl. He defeats the robot and tells the girl to call Nakamura. Akechi causes a commotion and reveals his presence to 20 Faces. Several security robots are deployed, and Akechi tells 20 Face not to involve Hanasaki. He runs to avoid the robot's shot and tries to defeat them with a grenade. As Akechi swings, the robot fires at his bag that is filled with weapons. He turns to face the robot with a gun and asks 20 Face to face him. Another security robot shows up and strikes Akechi. Akechi tries to get up and runs from their shots. Akechi realizes the robot he is dealing with this time is different from before. It turns out in the control room, the robot is controlled by Hanasaki. Akechi runs and starts to get overwhelmed in dealing with the robot. He eats a gunshot wound on his arm and hides. Akechi declares himself surrender and reveals he knows Hanasaki is the one running the robot. Akechi jumps and destroys the place where Hanasaki is. He mentions Hanasaki's weakness that makes him easily swayed and asks him to come home. 20 Face drops Hanasaki, whom he claims is useless, and thanks him for bringing Akechi in front of him. He orders Akechi to throw away his weapon and raise both hands on his head. An explosion is then heard, and the screen displays the arrival of Kobayashi. Inu scolds Kobayashi, who is acting alone. Kobayashi doesn't care and destroys all the robots and attacks them that come towards him. He is annoyed when remembering Hanasaki, who ignored him. Kobayashi is shocked when a robot fires a shot that goes right through his head and cuts his hair. Meanwhile, Inu and Katsuda fight against several robots and ask the residents to leave immediately. On the other hand, Kobayashi manages to find Hanasaki's whereabouts and scolds him. 20 Face activates the security robot and Kobayashi tries to stop it, but Noro and Otomo apparently manage to hijack the robot and make the machines jump. They instantly detonate them, and Akechi takes the opportunity to drop the gun from 20 Face. Suddenly, the security system that was successfully broken into by Otomo is cut off. 20 Face offers a trade-off to save everyone on the condition that Akechi must kill Hanasaki. Hanasaki asks Akechi to kill him. Kobayashi stands against it, stating that the death will is his and tells Hanasaki not to follow him. Hanasaki punches the glass floor and picks the cuts that he pricks on his neck and jumps from the height. Kobayashi catches up with Hanasaki and both of them fall into the pool. He emits the sleeping gas and makes everyone passes out. 20-Face approaches Kobayashi and is amazed with his power. Not long after that, the cops arrive and evacuate people in that area. Hanasaki is sitting alone and is looking at Kobayashi behind him. He walks towards Kobayashi and asks him to remind him about his promise to kill him. Hanasaki starts crying and apologizes for his foolishness. A month after the incident, 20-Face is arrested and the world seems back as peaceful as before. However, the trauma from the incident left Hanasaki psychologically unstable and the detective club is reluctant to let him return to line. At the office, Mayonnaise visits Inu, asking for the detective club's help in catching the person who is responsible for uploading candid photos of important people to a site called Lynch Shot without permission. Mayonnaise mentions one of the pictures in the site is a celebrity called Mikokasumaru who is picking her nose. One of his friends asks him to revenge that person. Inu, Katsuda, Kobayashi, and Noro begin to investigate the case. Katsuda expresses his concern for not getting Hanasaki involved in this case. At school, Hanasaki checks his phone multiple times, but he doesn't find any message from the club. On the way home, he meets Kobayashi, who asks him to join him investigating a mission of an affair. They watch from the roof of the building, and when Hanasaki receives a call from his father telling him to go home, he suddenly gets a panic attack and almost faints. At home, Hanasaki has dinner with his father, who asks him not to worry as 20-Face has been arrested. The following day, Lynch Shot site uploads a new picture showing Kobayashi's picture that is blurred and is called a zombie. Inu asks Kobayashi to stay in the office for a meantime and explains that problem will keep coming if people find out his power, while Inu goes to meet Katsuda at school to talk about Akechi who is missing. Kobayashi goes to meet Hanasaki and invites him to investigate about his picture in Lynch Shot. They then head to the place where the picture was taken and find a spray paint. Later that night, Hanasaki and Kobayashi lure the person who took the picture and manage to catch him. Inu and the other come to pick them up. He tells Hanasaki to get in the car, but Hanasaki refuses and walks instead. At school, Yamane is approached by a girl who thinks he's a member of a detective boys club. He takes the girl to the science club and listens to her talking about Ruragaku Boys, who is a group of handsome boys at school. The girl tells the theft incident that was experienced by the Ruragaku Boys and wants Lamini to catch the thief. Yamane and Omon find out the girl asked them to solve the case for prevention, as she doesn't remember Inu's stuffs she likes that become the next target. Yamane and Otomo go to meet Noro to ask for her help. Noro tells them Inu is doing treatment because she is jealous as Inu pays more attention to Kobayashi than her. Noro agrees to help them. Noro intends to hijack the school security camera, but she is informing that the system doesn't have internet network so that Yamane has to check directly at school. Arriving at the security room, Yamane connects Pippo to transfer the data to Noro's computer. However, Noro complains as she finds out the poor quality. Meanwhile, Kobayashi meets Hanasaki and demands him to keep his word to kill him. Hanasaki runs and asks Kobayashi not to chase him. Kobayashi catches him and reminds him he is the person who dragged him in the club. Hanasaki states he won't be able to return and will never be who he used to be. Because in his previous job, Yamane failed to catch the thief, he decides to hide in Inu's locker to wait for the thief to come. A few moments later, a male student opens the locker and Yamane manages to catch the thief. The next day, Otomo calls Inu to come to the school's science experiment club. Yamane expresses his desire to join the detective club. Inu gladly accepts it. Meanwhile, Kobayashi receives a call and when he picks it up, he is surprised to hear Akechi's voice, who has disappeared for some time since the Kokoro Gaka incident. Kobayashi tells about Hanasaki, who has changed and becomes weird. He also tells him he wants to do something for him. Akechi laughs and tells Kobayashi to do anything Hanasaki did to him. Nakamura and Mayanishi go to the club and ask Inu to escort a prisoner named Fujiseiji to the district court. Kobayashi tries to call Hanasaki and tells him about the job, but he cannot reach him. At mission day, Hanasaki doesn't come. Nakamura, Inu, and Kobayashi are in charge to escort the prisoner. The man asks about the man who tried killing him. As he knows the cops haven't arrested that person, he is not sure 3 police cars are enough to guard him. He then tells them the reason why he became a physiatrist and how he ended up in a prison. It turns out it was because his obsession to read someone's mind. Fuchsia looks at Kobayashi's gaze and he gets interested. He then asks Kobayashi to play a word association game. Elsewhere, Hanasaki meets 2 guys who litter in a river. He intends to scold them, but he gets pushed down. As the 2 guys want to leave, they are surprised to find the trash filling up their car. Another guy comes and introduces himself as Hyde. He tells Hanasaki that he did that. Hyde asks Hanasaki to meet his friends and introduces him to Furukawa. When Hyde goes to make him something, Furukawa tells Hanasaki that everyone in that place is problematic people and are out of society. He tells Hanasaki what crime Hyde did that made him get in and out of jail. Hyde shows up and brings bavaros for them. As they try the food, they laugh at how poor the food tastes. Returning to the truck, Noro tells them the driver is out of the route they're supposed to go. Suddenly, the truck speeds up and Kobayashi brakes it to stop the truck. As they get out of the truck, the guards ask Nakamura to give Fukiya to them. Feeling something off, Nakamura refuses and the guards begin to attack them. Inu and the others escape from the enemies who are after Fukiya and hide in an abandoned building that Kobayashi used as his base back then. Nakamura tells Noro to send them a helicopter. Fukiya keeps playing the game, and as he mentions a word embrace, Kobayashi gets a flashback of a woman. Noticing the expression shift from Kobayashi, Fukiya keeps mentioning a new word for Kobayashi while walking up the stairs. Meanwhile, in Hyde's place, Hanasaki sees a truck is flipping over and knows that Kobayashi and others are inside the truck. Hyde asks Hanasaki to get ready, and on the way there, Hanasaki listens that Hyde and group will capture Fukiya on the orders of the parents of the girl who was killed by the criminal. Hanasaki reveals about his friends escorting Fukiya. Hyde then asks him to choose whether he would help them or his friends. Returning to the abandoned building, Kobayashi tells them they cannot go further. Noro then mentions the closest alternative route on the west stairs. Fukiya provokes the group and finds out the presence of the parents of the girl he murdered. Nakamura breaks the door and they manage to get away from the group. While keep moving, Fukiya and Kobayashi continue to play the game. Suddenly, Kobayashi holds his head and looks in pain. Inu warns Fukiya to stop, and as they almost reach the top of the game, Kobayashi falls mentally depressed. The group that is after Fukiya is now catching up with their group. Kobayashi comes forward and asks them to fire at him. Everyone is shocked to see none of their bullets get him. As the group plans to explode the building, Akechi comes and paralyzes them. The helicopter appears and Nakamura hands Fukiya to the officer to take him. As the helicopter flies, the officer stabs a knife on Fukiya's back. Meanwhile, Hanasaki finally arrives at the scene and apologizes to Kobayashi. The force Akechi is paralyzed before suddenly gets up and fires at Hanasaki. Kobayashi jumps before Hanasaki to protect him from the gunshots and is surprised as he finds blood coming out of his body. Kobayashi falls down, and as Hanasaki tries to touch him, he cannot do it due to the power that protects him. Akechi and Inu assume it is possible that Kobayashi's power to prevent death is a reaction to his will to die, and because at this time his strength is weakening, it is likely Kobayashi wants to live. Akechi states Hanasaki has made Kobayashi stop wanting to die and that he must do something. He orders everyone not to follow him and dismiss the detective club. Inu tries to get down from his wheelchair and asks Hanasaki to move Kobayashi with a cloth. He tells Hanasaki to bring Kobayashi behind the building while Noro will send them a car. Mayanashi, who is sent by Nakamura, comes to help Hanasaki bring Kobayashi. Meanwhile, Inu walks down holding on to the edge of the stairs. Nakamura gets scolded by her chief because she's working with the detective club. Nakamura states she will take responsible of that. A moment later, Inu, Kobayashi, and Hanasaki arrive at the office. Hanasaki pours Kobayashi's wound with disinfectant and shows him medicine he should take, but Kobayashi refuses it and makes Hanasaki frustrated even more. Noro asks something they could do to help Kobayashi. Inu states that if they could do something, they must have done it. Hanasaki remembers Akechi's words and is surprised with Hyde's presence in the office. Later, after finding out that Hyde is a part of the group that harmed Kobayashi, Hanasaki wants to explain it, but Inu refuses to listen anything from him. Hyde tells them that Hanasaki is a part of them. Hanasaki is surprised to see Hanasaki has new friends. Hanasaki says that everyone in the club has changed and he decides to go with Hyde. Kobayashi, who listens to their conversation, is angry and his power suddenly returns. The bullet inside of him comes out by itself. Elsewhere, Akechi remembers his past when he was in a battlefield with 20 Face as a comrade. He then meets a Japanese reporter named Fumio, and as the time passed by, Akechi often accompanied her to cover the war. In the detective club base, Inu, Yamane, Otomo, Noro, and Katsuda gather discussing about Kobayashi, who is shaken up from 5 days since the bullet came out of his body. Otomo states that since the club has dismissed, there's nothing else they can do. He then intends to charge for the tools the club has used and suggests them to quit following Akechi. Otomo states he likes everyone in the club except Akechi. Inu doesn't like hearing Otomo talk bad about Akechi and asks him to stop. Suddenly, all the foods on the table is floating and sucked into Kobayashi's mouth. it is likely that Kobayashi absorbs the food as a sign of his will to keep alive. Returning back to the past, Akechi heard Fumio will return to Japan because her duty was over. On the day where Fumio was ready to leave, 20-Face suddenly kissed her. He was aware of Akechi's feelings towards her and told him to go with her. After leaving the war world, Akechi and Fumio started their lives by opening a detective service. As time went by, his name started to be known and he worked with a detective named Namakoshi. Then one day, 20-Face started terror and lured Akechi to meet him in the underground sewer. Akechi was surprised when he saw Fumio there. Akechi noticed that Fumio was under control of the 20-Face. She was standing before him holding the bomb detonator that 20-Face had planted in the house where Namakoshi was. As Fumio pressed the detonator, Akechi pulled the trigger, shooting the girl he loved. In the detective club base, Kobayashi is recovering from the shot wound. He has a strange dream where he sees a woman lying on bed and a man approaches her. Kobayashi doesn't recognize them, but the dream makes his head hurt. At his house, Hanasaki is visited by Hyde, who disguises as a renovator. Hyde tells him about someone who spread a hoax on the internet and invites Hanasaki to beat the person up. Hanasaki refuses and Hyde assumes Hanasaki is still angry with the incident. Hyde understands his feeling and asks him to call him if he wants to do something. On the rooftop, Nakamura goes to meet Inu and tells him she has moved to other division so that she cannot help them anymore. She tells him about the Fukiya incident and hears something from the prison that Fukiya often meets 20-Face. Meanwhile, Kobayashi keeps getting flashback about the woman and the man he doesn't know. The man is standing next to the woman who is lying with intravenous bag. He cries and regrets her will to have a child. The woman tells him that the child is the proof she is alive. Hanasaki comes to meet Kobayashi and he intends to leave when Ino returns. But suddenly, Kobayashi screams again in pain when the figure of the man grabs his hair. He slams his head on the wall and tells them strange things that keeps appearing in his mind. Inu assumes the place he mentioned is Akibuno theme park. Inu and Kobayashi head there while Hanasaki refuses to join them. Noro then sends Pippo to scold Hanasaki and tells him that he doesn't suit to be a complicated person. After he realizes it, he calls Hyde to get him to the theme park. Meanwhile in the jail, Akechi appears with a mask and tells them that he is the 20-Faces. Inu stops his car when they get there. Kobayashi gets a picture in his mind again when Hanasaki and Hyde arrive. In the police station, Mayanishi refutes his chief that states Akechi is the real 20-Face. Mayanishi believes the 20-Face intentionally disguised as Akechi. Hanasaki and the group explore the theme park, and after following the clues from Kobayashi's vision, they end up in an abandoned building. Inu spots a photo frame and finds a diary where a husband was taking care of his wife who was suffering from an autoimmune disease. Inu presumes the wife was not possible to bear a child with her condition. Hyde then finds out the person who spread the hoax named Ayusawa has been known by the public. Hyde refuses to save Ayusawa and asks Furukawa to carry out their mission. Meanwhile, Mayanishi starts his investigation to reveal the real identity of the 20-Face. He realizes that all incidents that happened recently are connected. Inu, Hanasaki, and Kobayashi track the location of Ayusawa and find him intending to commit suicide by jumping off the overpass. When Kobayashi is about to save him, he gets vision that makes him fall down. The man in his mind blames him for being born and intends to kill him. But the woman from before comes to protect him and gets killed instead. Returning to the present, Inu gets up from his wheelchair and catches Ayusawa, who almost falls. When Kobayashi wakes up, the picture of the woman appears clearly and asks him to stay alive. On the way home, Inu offers Kobayashi to return to the previous house, but Kobayashi refuses and states that he has come back. Meanwhile, Mayanishi keeps trying to call Nakamura to tell him the result of his investigation. He is surprised when someone suddenly appears behind him and feels relieved when knowing it is Nakamura, but suddenly Nakamura lifts her gun and fires at him. The following day, the officer comes to the detective club and searches through the room while telling them about Miyanishi's death after being shot by Nakamura, and Nakamura's witness that Akechi is the real 20-Face. Hanasaki doesn't believe it and declines it, saying that he saw 20-Face and Akechi fighting. Elsewhere, Akechi sees some news about himself that is assumed as the 20-Face and Miyanishi's death. He then goes to meet a former police officer named Teishi. Teishi gives his opinion about Miyanishi's death and believes that the 20-Face has controlled Nakamura. Several days later, after doing investigation, Teishi and Akechi meet in a fish pond. Teishi tells him that Nakamura is in Mariel Tower and is under supervision for psychiatric tests. He also reveals that only the deputy commissioner is acting for the investigation of the case. After Akechi leaves, Teishi meets a man and tells him that he had said what he was told. The man then gives him a fishing hook, and when he pulls it, Teishi is surprised to find the amount of money he receives. Akechi sneaks into the Mariel Tower under the guise of a delivery man. He knocks down several guards and comes to Nakamura's room through the air duct. Nakamura states that she has been waiting for Akechi to arrive and states that Myanashi's death was not in vain. Akechi asks her if she is related to the 20 Face. Nakamura tells him that she is the lover of the 20 Faces. Doesn't want to believe it, Akechi asks her since when 20 Face washed her brain. Nakamura laughs and states she doesn't remember when it all started. Akechi approaches Nakamura and asks the 20 Face to stop hurting people. The cops arrive and arrest him. In the detective club base, Nora tries to tap the police line to find out something. She finds a message from the 20 Face and informs them about Akechi's whereabouts on his ship. 20 Face says if they can save Akechi before sunset, then he will lose. But if they fail to save him, Akechi will stop being himself. After the message ends, Ino tells Noro to find a closest route to the shelter. He gets into his car and receives a call from Yamane, who is with Katsuda and Otomo. They talk about Akechi and Inu tells them that 20 Face takes Akechi as a hostage. Otomo warns Yamane and Katsuda not to get involved with them. However, Yamane claims he's a member of the club and will help Inu. In the car, Hanasaki and Kobayashi join Inu and state even if they act without Akechi or getting help from Miyanashi and Nakamura, they must win the battle. Arriving at the shelter, Noro tells them that the shuttle will run autopilot, and she will take over the control. As Kobayashi enters to check the place, the forces are coming and surround them. Ino asks the cops to hand down their weapons. Hanasaki excuses they get lost. One of the cops knows that Hanasaki is lying and states they are members of the detective club who are working with Akechi. He tells them to follow his instruction if they want to live. Hanasaki and Inu tell Kobayashi to use his power to escape. Just then, Katsuda and Yamane arrive and save them. Inu and the others hurry up to get to the shuttle, while talking about Nakamura, who becomes the 20 Faces' subordinate. On the edge of the way, a group of forces appear to block them. Inu asks Hanasaki live with Kobayashi to save Akechi, while he, Yamane, and Katsuda will pin the forces. Kobayashi and Hanasaki manage to escape from them. Hanasaki states even though he is still angry with Akechi, but Akechi has done many things to him and has brought good things for him. Therefore, he will pay him for his kindness. Nora tells Hanasaki and Kobayashi to stop while she checks the security before they get on the shuttle. Kobayashi comments as long as Hanasaki is near him, he will be safe. They head to the shuttle when suddenly a bomb explodes. Hanasaki and Kobayashi are survived, but the shuttle that is supposed to take the train to the 20 Face place is destroyed. Hanasaki remembers about an evacuation vehicle they saw before and asks Kobayashi to go there. They are stopped by several security robots who fire them continuously. Kobayashi blocks the attack while Hanasaki charges forward trying to knock down the other robot. Meanwhile, the previous explosion shakes the building and Inu hopes Kobayashi and Hanasaki are fine. One of the troops shoots at Inu's wheelchair and advances to get them. Katsuda and Yamane fight them and Inu steals one of the troops' weapons. They manage to get rid of several forces, but other forces coming on their direction. Just then, Otomo appears with a drill tank. He flies drones that release sleeping gas and states that he doesn't care what happens to Akechi, but he doesn't accept if people disturbing his friends. Hanasaki and Kobayashi manage to get the evacuation aircraft. He starts the engine, but it suddenly stops and cannot be operated. On the other hand, the digger tank has reached its limit and they are cornered again. Elsewhere, 20 Face shows what happens to Inu and the others to Akechi. He talks about many things that makes Akechi angry. Katsuda, Otomo, Inu, and Yamane have been knocked down. One of the forces tells Hanasaki and Kobayashi to surrender. The force admits they frame Akechi as a bad person to get rid of him. Katsuda, who wants to be a police officer, feels disgusted with what they did. He complains them but is stopped as one of them hits him. As the force takes out the gun to shoot Inu, Kobayashi appears and attacks them. Inu is angry seeing Hanasaki and Kobayashi return. Hanasaki calms him and states they will be meeting Akechi soon. Just then, an aircraft that brings Akechi comes and apparently Nora has tapped it. Suddenly, the police force led by Hisashi arrives and arrests the troops that attack Inu and the group. Akechi, who is in the ship, greets them before disconnecting the line. With Nora's help, Hanasaki jumps onto the ship and he apologizes to Kobayashi for not keeping his promise. Hanasaki calls his friends, telling them he has landed the ship. He intends to finish it all and disconnect the line. Meanwhile, Inu and Katsuda leave with Hisashi and explain everything to him. Kobayashi asks Otomo to take him to the ship where Hanasaki is. In the ship, Akechi scolds Hanasaki for following him. Hanasaki then finds out that the ship will explode. 20 Face gives him a chance to leave the ship and expresses his pleasure because Akechi is willing to play with him. But Hanasaki pushes Akechi to the evacuation ship and sends him out of the ship. At that time, Kobayashi arrives and reminds him his promise to kill him. 20 Face holds Kobayashi and Akechi suddenly charges them, sending them out of the ship. Hanasaki and Kobayashi are thrown into the sea, while Akechi is not to be known. Finally, they manage to clear Akechi's name from the accusation as the 20 Face using the data that Mayanishi had been collected. Sometime later, Inu graduates from the school and becomes the head of the detective club. They get several jobs, and as the time goes by, the club begins to operate as before. Kobayashi and Hanasaki meet a guy who intends to jump from the building. Hanasaki gives him the business card of the club, while Kobayashi asks him if he wants to die or stay alive. And the anime ends here. Thank you for watching from start to finish. Please like this video if you enjoy it, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in another video.